Data isn't just another electronic system. Geordi isn't just another biological organism. And Eli Hollander is called the Butcher of Bozeman. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 8, A Fistful of Datas. Story by Robert Hewitt Wolfe, teleplay by Brandon Braga and Robert Hewitt Wolfe. This is directed by Patrick Stewart. November 7th, 1992. Where were you? We've got a very special guest, everybody. Can you believe it? We have the writer of the episode. I believe this is his first Star Trek episode ever written. Finally, Robert has returned to the seventh rule. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. So glad to
Yeah,
finally. It feels like forever, doesn't it, Sirach?
it does. It does. But, I'm glad we're going to knock this episode out because this is good.
hmm
Yeah.
So,
Then
everybody,
that's it. You're done with me. You can wash your hands of me forever.
No, not at all. I'm trying
so everybody
to.
at home, we had Robert all the time joining us, giving us his insights, his memories, his stories, his thoughts, all over our Deep Space Nine reviews. And then we
Yeah.
started Next Generation. We're like, what the heck? That's right, because we're going backwards here. Robert, this is the only episode that you are credited as a writer for in the Next Generation. So this is where you got your start with Star Trek and kind of in writing as far as
Yeah.
television writing is concerned. Can you please just kind of walk us through the process of how you got your foot in the door and got them to say, we got to hang on to this guy?
Uh, so I went to film school for screenwriting, and while I was there, I placed second in a fairly prestigious screenwriting contest, and so I got an agent. And then I was still in school, and I was focused on features, and I hadn't sold anything, but I'd written a science fiction piece that almost got sold. We were literally negotiating with a company, and they went bankrupt in the middle of negotiations. That's bad. I guess better that they didn't like go bankrupt and never pay me for something they agreed to. But anyway, so one of the agents at the agency I was at represented Joe Minosky.
Cool.
And at the time, Next Generation had pretty much an open door writing, open door to pitches policy. And there were a couple different ways you could get in. One was by submitting a spec Next Generation. They would read it, cover it, and if they liked it, they might invite you in to pitch. And that's how Ron and Renee got in. We had interns, and that's how Brandon got in.
Hmm.
Or if you were represented, if you actually had an agent, especially if you had an agent that represented one of the other writers, they would just schedule you. If they would read a sample, so they read this big science fiction epic that I wrote, and they invited me in to pitch. And first time I came in, I pitched them two ideas. I really only came with two ideas at a time, but they were always really well fleshed out. I don't know whether they liked that or didn't. They didn't buy either one of them, but they invited me back. The second time I pitched two more ideas. They didn't buy either one of them. They invited me back, and I was like, okay, well, if I don't sell something this time, I'm done. Like they're not going to invite me back a fourth time. So I came in with two pretty fleshed out ideas. One was a time travel story that I was super confident in. I felt really good about it. It was set during the Watts riots. It was like a
Hmm.
Geordi and Picard episode. Pitched the whole thing out, and they seemed to really like it. They were like, "Yeah, but we're shooting a time travel episode right now. We can't do another one." They were doing Time Zero like literally as I was pitching this
Oh,
thing. I was
wow.
so frustrated. I was like, "So, oh my god!" So I was so frustrated. I was sitting at the edge of this couch. I was pitching to like Brannon and Joe and Renee, and I think Pete Fields might have been in there. It was like all of them. Ron. I was so frustrated. I was sitting in this
Mount
couch in Ron's
Rushmore.
office, and I banged my head on the arm of the couch because I was like, all right, okay, I got this other one. And Worf and Alexander go to the holodeck, and meanwhile, Data's like doing this upgrade to the ship where he's like plugged in to see if he can be the ship's computer. And as they're in there, Data basically infects all the holosuite characters until like they all turn into Data. And all the safety protocols are off, and the only way for Worf to end the program is to beat Data in a gunfight. And they bought it. I mean, it was a little more involved than that, but
Yeah.
that was it. And so they bought it, which was great. It was my first professional sale. And I came in, we broke the story together. I wrote the story document. I actually looked for the scripts and the story documents. I can't find them for the life of me.
Damn.
I have all the Deep Space Nine stuff, but I can't find any of the data stuff. So wrote the story document, wrote the outline. I guess they
So,
liked the script well enough yeah, go ahead.
well, just for right there, was that something you already had in your mind, like, or was it just like come up with it on the spot? Like, how did that? Was it
When
like
I
just
pitched
kind
it,
of
I
a?
already had it in my head. I already had it pretty well worked out. It wasn't as well worked out as the time travel one, but I was sort of I thought it'd be fun to do an homage to like Spectre of the Gun, the original series episode.
Mhm.
And I just thought the idea of Worf versus Data in a gunfight, in an Old West
Yeah,
gunfight, was
yeah,
really fun.
yeah.
Um, and so I had it pretty well worked out. Some of the beats that are in there now are still the ones I pitched, like the big
Hmm.
gunfight at the end between the two of them, and Alexander being the deputy, and Troy joining them, uh, and then we broke the story based pretty much on what I wrote, and it was great. I was, a freelancer, but I was in there with all the whole crew, the whole
Yeah.
writing office,
Hey, Robert.
and then yeah,
Sorry, I was just going to ask you just to
no, yeah.
give us a little bit of context here. Were you a big Old West fan? I mean, this feels like this comes from the heart of somebody that's watched a lot of it, but
Yeah.
maybe that just kind of, maybe you just studied up on it to write the episode. I mean, how big of an Old West fan were you? Was this something like, oh man, one of these days I got to write an Old West something?
I honestly was I wouldn't characterize myself as a big Western fan, but like I'd taken, I'd been to film school, and as a result, I sat through, High Noon and a few
Mhm.
other of the big seminal westerns. I always liked the Magnificent Seven. That was always one of my favorite movies. Um, but westerns weren't my favorite genre, to be honest, just
Mhm.
because whenever I honestly like, especially cowboys and Indians, I sort of had issue with I rooted for the Indians too much, I think. And
Yeah.
so, but I just thought it would, at its heart, like original series was pitched as a Western, and there are definitely Western elements to Star Trek.
Mhm.
You know, Gene Roddenberry pitched the original series, and by extension, the Next Generation as sort of wagon train to the stars. Like,
Mhm.
and I think, Michael and Rick for Deep Space Nine were partially at least thinking of the rifleman, about a single father on the frontier, that kind of thing. So, I think I'd done my homework already. I didn't have to do it again.
Nice.
um, yeah,
Wow.
and that was
Uh,
it. So, yeah.
so let me first say this is like a fantastic episode. That the name of the episode. This is one of the few episodes, Yesterday's Enterprise and certain other ones, where I hadn't watched the show, but the name of the show was already famous.
Mhm.
You know, I already knew about the title of the episode before I actually watched it. And there's a few of those out. The City on the Edge of
Forever. The Inner
Forever.
Light. You remember you're like, oh, the
Yeah,
Inner
Yeah.
Light. Finally, I'm going to watch
yeah.
this one.
So just like these titles that people just throw out there, and I hear them all the time, right? I see people wearing shirts that say Darmok and Jalad on Tanagra, right? And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what does that mean, right? And so now that I'm watching these episodes, I'm like, oh, so this is the episode that everybody talks about, Fistful of Datas. That's, the name has already been kind of seared into my memory. And I was so enjoying this episode because I think it had all of the elements that I look for in an episode, which is a little bit of the science fiction, a little bit of humor, a little bit of puzzle solving, a little bit of an A story and a B story that work well together. They flow and complement each other. And also the music was amazing, I thought, as well. It
Oh
just
my God, yeah.
the
The
music,
sc- the
the
score is
score,
so great.
Mhm.
it's so great.
Was that
It
Alexander or
complements
Jay? I can't remember who did that one.
Checking.
it complements the episode. I mean, to the T. And I've literally just finished watching another episode of some other show where I did not like the scoring, and I told Ryan it had like a cartoon type, scoring to it, and it took away from the seriousness. This had just the right tone of the for the scoring, to give it the seriousness, to give it the Western feel, to give it, it was just great.
It
But my
was
question,
Alexander Courage.
yeah,
He
Oh
okay,
did such a
wait.
great job.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the theme, the title theme. I'll keep checking. I know there's some people right
Yeah.
now screaming at their screens right now that
Yeah,
know
yeah,
the
yeah.
answer,
I'm
and I
sure they are. And
always
I should have looked.
forget
I
which
should have
one.
looked because it popped out at me rewatching it yesterday. How
You heard
great the
it,
score is.
yeah.
It's
So
so
great.
great. I mean, playing with that, the TNG elements, but like then turning it into a Western score. I just thought it was really, really well done.
Agreed. Agreed. When did you know that Patrick Stewart was going to be directing this episode?
It is Jay
I
Chataway, by the way. Sorry, go ahead.
Jay,
Jay.
yeah, Jay did a
Okay.
great job. The freelance thing is just completely different than being on staff. So I don't think I ever knew until like they told me maybe right before it was shooting or something like that. But like the way that worked is I wrote the outline, turned in the outline. They liked it. They asked me to write a script. I wrote the first draft, gave it to them, and then that was it. Like they took that and then they gave it to Brandon. And he basically rewrote giant chunks of it. I mean, the reason his name is on there is because I would say, 75% of the script at the end of the day is his. I mean, it's my story, but it's definitely his script. Like the teaser is mine, but there were a lot of big differences between, like, I didn't have any of that combat force field stuff at all. My Western story was different. It was a little more about like a railway company trying to take over a town instead of like the gunfighter with the murderer son. Oh man, that's Rio Bravo. I think mine was a little more honestly like a straight version of Blazing Saddles. The plot,
Oh, really?
just the plot.
What's
But
Rio Bravo? What's that?
Rio Bravo's a old classic Western where like the sheriff has this killer in the jail and then his family is coming to break him out and it's kind of
Okay.
like the big gunfight's going to happen because he's going to have to fight all these guys that are coming.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but
this
mine
was the
was
first time working with Brandon, or did you work with him, or does he just
no, no, no.
write?
So when you're a freelancer on Star Trek and you turn in a script, right?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
basically it. Like
They're
used to
like,
say,
Job's
here's a
you
done.
throw it
check.
over
See
the.
you later.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
used to say you threw it over the transom, like those those office doors
Yeah.
that have those little windows in the top. You just sort
Yeah.
of toss it in there, and then that's then
Right.
they're gonna go off and do their thing. And like they had to do some of it was production based. I mean, there's some really smart production things that they did in their version that Brandon did, and I'm sure with the help of the staff did in their version. Like they used the cave sets. They spent a lot more time in the Huskow, which I'm sure they built on set. There was, they did use the Western town. I think they used. I mean, I probably was Paramount. I don't even know what
Well,
Western
that's what I
town that
wanted to
was,
ask
to
you
be
about.
honest.
And I'm kind of
Yeah.
bummed because I think I know the answer based on just tossing it over the script. That is, you didn't get to visit the set then,
No,
it's because we know the staff writers. You got to be there. For questions that they may have. A
no,
lot of
not on
times,
Star
like
Trek.
producers, really, I guess that's more recent nowadays. But like, they're like they
No,
got to be on
not
set
those
to like,
days.
oh man. So
I don't even know if Brandon was on set. He might have gone and visited for like an hour, but like
So if he
back in the
wasn't, then there's no
day,
chance you don't even know where it was because it looked like such a beautiful set,
it was
beautiful
either the
place.
Warner Brothers Western
Yeah.
sets. I think it was the Warner Brothers Western sets.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Their Western town, which is in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was because I've been to Paramount Ranch, and Paramount Ranch, it looked a little different. Paramount Ranch burned down. But I'm pretty sure that was the Warner Brothers Western sets, which I think were used for like Gunsmoke and stuff. I'm not quite sure. I thought it was really funny watching it again because there's a couple of shots where Patrick and I'm not sure who was it Marvin, the DP, they or Jonathan, one or the other. Anyway, they shot off the sets. They literally
Oh,
filmed.
really?
Yeah, yeah, but oh, it was okay. It was Warner Brothers. Okay, great.
Looks
Thank
like
you.
it. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
probably it. But there's a couple of masters where you can see that they're shooting a flat, and I was like, why did they do it that way? But I don't know whether they were just like it was a wink to the whole thing. It was a holodeck program, and they just kind of want to show the artificial. It's very subtle. It's like up screen left, and you can just see that they're shooting like what we call a flat, or it's a facade essentially. It's like a house with just the front. And then when Worf has the plans for the street and he's laying out his plans, those are blueprints of the street. They're based on blueprints of the street, and it's just facades. Like you can see, like on the map that he has, it's just like all the buildings are like this thick, and it's just like a series of facades. It was very funny. But yeah, no, I mean they did a great job. I think Patrick got really. I heard Patrick got really into it. This was his first thing he ever directed, I think.
So cool.
Well, it's the first good thing he ever directed, I think.
Yeah,
well, it's definitely it definitely
there was one. This was his second, I think. What was the other one, Sirach?
Yeah.
I think
it was
I'm
one
checking.
before this. Yeah.
Maybe okay.
And it wasn't as good as this at all. At all.
Well, he really, I think a lot of like the hat. There's all kinds of like references that I think he put in the costumers put in there to different westerns. The hat and the guns and all that stuff is just very specific. Each little piece of an outfit is a different Western inspired. I mean, some of them, who knows, they might have just gone to Western prop and costume and rent the actual things from Gunsmoke. Those things are still sitting out there, or they were 30 something years ago, still sitting in warehouses, and you can just go rent them. I did not get to do the production, unfortunately.
Bummer.
So when was it then? Okay, so this is like you this is your first episode. You throw it over the window, it gets picked up. You basically don't see anybody after that. When does this lead to more for you?
So, yeah, they shot it. I believe. I think the next interaction was I got the shooting script because they were putting Brandon's name on it, which they did back in the day. We didn't do that on Deep Space Nine at the end. We did it the first season or two when Michael was in charge, because Michael thought that the credit should reflect who did the work. But Ira was like, yeah, you don't put your name on freelance scripts, so we stopped doing that. Anyway, so they had to give me the script, or they did give me the script. Because I could have arbitrated. I could have argued, oh no, it's all me, That's our whole.
And that also means royalties and stuff like that, right? And just
yeah. So like I get 2/3 of the residuals, and Brennan gets a third on this. Right. It's fine. Like, I mean, that was the culture, and I'm not. And Brandon did a great job, by the way. Right. So I got the script, I read it, and I was like, okay, well, they changed a lot of stuff. Some of it was like, oh, this pissed me off, I did not. I got to be honest. I did not love the force field. I thought my answer to how he survived that gunfight was better, but it was also probably unproducible, and way too violent for Star Trek. So
all right,
I'll tell you what. Okay, I'll tell you how mine.
Yeah. Please,
so
please.
He's teasing us too much here. Right?
Yeah.
So Worf has to take on Data in a gunfight. Data is faster than him. Android reflexes. There's no way he's gonna outdraw him. All that stuff. So in mine, Worf just is like, he just takes the bullets. He's a Klingon. He has 2 of every internal organ, and he just positions himself in such a way that he doesn't lose both of anything. He gets shot 5 times, falls to the ground. Data walks up and stands over him with the last bullet. Worf is struggling to get up. Data says, like, why don't you just lie there and take it like a man? And Worf looks up to him and says, I am not a man. I am a Klingon. And he leaps up, rips open the back of Data's head, and hits the off Data's emergency.
This is great. That's so good.
Yeah, that's how he wins.
Yes.
And then the other thing is, the only way to end the program is not just to like acknowledge the barmaid, but he has to kiss her full on the lips.
I thought that too.
That's actually how that program
I thought that too. I thought that too.
And so in my script,
I thought he has
it's
to
Data
please her
as the
with
barmaid, and Worf gives him a big kiss on the lips, and that's the end. I thought that in my mind, and probably in Brandon's script, it was a cheek kiss, but they didn't even do that. She just like Data,
Nuzzled him.
she just leans up against Worf,
Yeah.
and then that ends the program. It's just like a hug. So obviously, standards and
Yeah.
practices was not even a cheek kiss, was a bridge too far for them 30 something years ago. So those were the two
Yeah.
big
I like
things
both
that.
of those.
But look, I
Oh
don't think I
man.
could have. But look, even if I had been on staff, I think I would have lost those fights,
Yep.
because I don't think that those fights were. I don't think they changed those things because they wanted to. I think they changed those things because having Worf shot 6 times on cam or 5 times on camera, that's a lot of like wardrobe changes and blood packs, and it's like a lot. And also, Star Trek doesn't usually do any of that stuff,
Doesn't show blood.
right? Doesn't show blood. Well,
Sometimes it'll
they do show
show.
a little blood leaking out of his shirt the one time he gets
Yeah.
winged by a bullet earlier in the episode.
Right.
Um, but yeah, those are the
Yeah.
two big things. The other thing that really bummed me out was there was a great scene. I thought it was in there because I'd read it in the script. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just missed it, blinked and missed it. But there was a scene that Brandon wrote that I loved where Eli and Deanna are in the Hooskow by themselves.
Hmm.
And Deanna says to Eli, "So you've killed 23 men?" And Eli says some fucking snarky thing. And it's like, "Tell me, how does that make you feel?" Like she starts, she just drops into
No, that wasn't
counselor mode.
there.
I know. I was like, for years, literally, because the only time I've seen this, honestly, the only time I've actually seen this episode is at a screening party that my friend hosted for me at his house, because it was my first credit, and all my friends from film
That's
school and
awesome.
all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff, we all came and we all watched it together. That's the only time I've seen this
That's like
episode
in
since.
92 or
Yeah.
something.
I mean, literally, it was literally 92. I had just gotten on staff on Deep Space Nine because I got on staff like the week before that, I think.
Wow.
And so
Another thing I want to acknowledge as well is this was the best father-son episode for Worf, who has been kind of an absent
Deadbeat
father,
dad. Yeah.
and they didn't write him well. But yet in this episode, he actually is a great dad, and he's having a moment with his kid. And I thought if they could just write it like that, then he doesn't look like an asshole. But with his son, he could just be
yeah,
the reluctant, you know, play along partner. And I thought that's
yeah,
perfect.
that was my intention, was that. And the other thing is I wanted Worf to look like a badass.
Yeah.
Because I think they were
Because he gets
doing
his
better by
ass kicked
then.
in every episode so far.
Well, they
It's
were doing better. To
unbelievable.
be honest, they were doing better by like season 6. But
Okay.
it was my intent that like Warp looked like so the first time, that whole thing where he just decks the guy and it's too
Yeah.
easy, or in my version where he like takes the bullets and then beats the crap out of Data. Like, to me, I just thought that those were just
Yes.
opportunities to like give Worf his due, and then we
Yeah.
got to do that all day long once he came on Deep Space Nine, so it was
Hmm.
fun. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we only have you for a
And
couple more minutes, Robert,
yeah.
and we really appreciate you hanging out. But sorry, what were you saying, Rock?
No, because I feel like you also brought some of that element to Deep Space Nine, and you mentioned that
Oh
just
yeah.
now. But it's like you literally took a lot of this and brought it over to DS9. You know, like I said, with the great story writing, the relationships, the trying to bring out the best of characters and have certain elements of their character shine, so that they look heroic or brave or more fierce. I mean, that's to me, that's what great writing is about. It's about how do we bring out the best of this character and how can we make the audience love them or like them more. And I think that's what you did with this. I loved it. I loved watching Worf more as a father. Normally, when it's
Yeah.
an Alexander episode, I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
this.
But Worf was so much
But
more likable now
totally was cool
too.
with this one. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
He didn't have to
yes.
be
Yeah,
like
I mean,
he
I
didn't have
wish
to
we'd
change
done.
completely. Just be himself, but like not
Yeah.
lame about it. But sorry, what were you saying, Robert?
Oh, I just wish we. I feel like because we had Avery and that relationship, it's probably why we didn't do much Alex. Well, I think we did one Alexander episode. It's not really great.
Mhm.
But it would have been nice to do more for that relationship on Deep Space Nine
Hmm.
too. But I think the bandwidth for that kind of relationship was already there, so
Yeah.
we didn't really follow that.
Yeah, you didn't have to lean into it so much. It existed, but in this one,
Hmm.
you kind of needed it a little more because Worf looks like an absentee father, and this actually gives him some redemptive qualities.
It was
Um,
fun.
it's just fun, yeah. This is really one of my favorite episodes. So when did you start getting like people coming to you about this episode, or when did you realize that you had written an episode that was amongst the stars of the episodes of Star Trek, one of the great episodes?
I don't know. I think it was probably. I mean, I think the fan magazines back then gave it pretty good reviews, which was nice and gratifying. I think every once in a while, it's really like since the internet in the last like kind of in a weird way since the streaming era began that people like talk about their favorite all-time Star Trek episodes a little more often, or that they're it's on the internet instead of some fan magazine that
Yeah.
you read once and it sits in a drawer. Um, so I think, probably over the last 10, 15 years, I realized that people had a real affection for the episode, which
Oh yeah.
again, like, I'll take a little credit for it, but, a lot of that goes to Brandon and Patrick and Michael and, the whole crew. I think the story, I like to think the story was really smart and fun. And then, my first draft, there were some elements, but I really think, this, this was clearly the machine of the time
Hmm.
that did this work, So I think I don't take it as I don't want to say personally that sounds wrong, but I don't feel the same level of ownership of this as I do over like a Deep Space Nine episode where I had a lot more to do and I took it all the way to the end. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I've freelanced for a few shows, or even Field the Fire on Deep Space Nine, which is the same thing where I was a freelancer and I didn't take it all the way to the end.
Hmm.
Those episodes, or my Twilight Zone or the Dead Zone episode I did as freelancers, those don't have the same level to me of like, I feel the same level of ownership. So it's really, I think it's great that people love this episode, but I also feel like, you know, in a weird way, it's like way less to do with me than something like, Way of the Warrior, which I wrote with Ira, or
Awesome.
or The
Yeah.
Wire, which I did that was more
Hmm.
mine. Um,
Well,
it's
you know that this episode made it, Robert, because there are action figures made of this episode. I remember that as a kid seeing those action figures, and I
yeah,
love seeing people cosplay this episode because
yeah, it's
there's
really
no
fun.
mistaking it for any other episode. You know
No, that it's
exactly
always fun.
what they're cosplaying,
Yeah.
so it's got to be great to see that.
That's fun. Yeah, it's really fun to see people dressed as like Durango or
Yeah, totally.
as Data as Hollander. I think that's Worf in his Western outfit.
Hmm.
It's fun to see that.
Hmm.
Um,
Counselor
uh,
Durango.
Counselor Durango. Yeah, exactly. I mean, how great is Marina? Marina's great.
Fantastic.
They're all
Everybody's
great.
great in this episode. To me, this is a
Hmm.
fun episode. This is like the take me out to the hollow suite of Next Generation type episode. It's like
High
Yeah,
praise.
it's
I'll take
fun.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like it's fun. It's you get to see the characters acting a little bit outside of their normal kind of behavior. Um, and I loved it. I'm writing down all your lines. I'm sitting here writing all this stuff down, and I just thought it was so good.
Hmm. I
And
agree.
when you watched it back, whose performance made you laugh the most though when you were watching it?
I mean, all three of them are really, really fun, to be honest,
Yeah,
I mean, I think obviously, like, in a way, Spiner gets to, chew up more of the scenery than
he
anybody
Totally.
does.
else.
He
But
does.
I was like really like into Marina. She was doing some really fun stuff and switching between her normal accent and the Western accent, and like the whole thing where she's practicing speed draw. It's like there's a lot. She has a lot of really fun moments
Yeah,
in that episode. And obviously Michael gets to it's he gets to do all his. Michael's really. I think people underappreciate how good Michael is, like doing all that
yeah,
stuff under all, even harder than Brent to wear that
Oh man.
Turtlehead and all that
Hmm.
stuff, and still give that kind of performance is really, really
Hmm.
good.
Yeah,
Hmm. He's
and
like
it
Clint
works.
Eastwood.
And it works because he's serious and he's almost not playing along, right? So
Yeah.
that's the contrast that makes it work so well. Everybody's got their southern accent on, and he's just like, I need you to come with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You are
Yeah,
under
like
arrest.
he's
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
he's Worf. Like
Hmm.
the thing is, like everybody else is playing a character, he's Worf in an adventure.
Yes.
And
Yes.
because I mean, like again, like I feel like people don't always appreciate like the straight man in a comedy,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
But
It's
that's a
the
really
balance.
hard
It's the
job.
counterbalance.
It
It's the
is.
counterbalance. It allows everybody else's lines to hit better. I liked, for example, when Marina kind of gave him the look, like you need to think, like she just did something for you,
She was
Worf, and she
awesome.
likes you. You better, something like, oh, thank you very much.
Way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
he's great.
Robert, we know you have to run, but we do very much appreciate you taking the
Yeah.
time for us today. It's been way too long, and it's unbelievable you were only in one episode or wrote for one episode of TNG. So that's why we're just powering through as quickly as we can so that we could get back to some Robert Hewitt Wolfe episodes of Deep Space Nine or something like that. But continued success. You're always
Thank you.
working, and
Yeah,
you get a ton of work. You're always got something up your sleeve, and it's always so wonderful catching up with you. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for hanging out
great
with
to see
us.
you. Great to see
You
you
too.
both, as always.
All
Amazing
right,
episode, man. Thank you
everybody,
so
Thanks,
much.
thanks,
stick
thanks.
around. We're going to be covering way more of this episode on the other side. We'll be right back on the seventh rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the seventh rule with Sirach frickin' Lofton.
Hello.
Uh, I don't know if you're a fan of the Old West, the Western movies. We'll have to find out in just a second. I think maybe medium. Yeah, based on that head tilt. Here are, and special thanks, of course, to Robert Hewitt Wolfe. He's just welcome back anytime. We love that guy to death. Here are the trivioids of the week. The Enterprise has entered orbit of shoot, I should have learned how to say that word. Deinonychus 7. Picard changes the clarinet to an oboe. Beverly wants to talk about something for breakfast. Picard would make a wonderful butler. The Enterprise will be taking its new personnel at Starbase 118. Data isn't just another electronic system. Geordi isn't just another biological organism. Eli Hollander is called the Butcher of Bozeman, Montana. Riker reads Data's Ode to Spot, and Worf orders some Klingon fire wine. All right. So just to finish that conversation, Sirach, would you say medium Western fan? Kind of just know a little bit here and there, no big deal. You're not a Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood kind of guy.
I'm not, I'm aware of westerns. I'm not a big on westerns. I didn't grow up in that space right there. But if I have to mention a western that I have seen that I liked, I would put The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh
That was
yeah,
one of my favorite.
Tombstone. Woo!
I like
Tombstone is
Tombstone.
out of this world good. Oh my God, Tombstone.
And then I saw the new version of 310 to Yuma. I thought that was a really good one with
Oh, I don't
Christian
know that
Bale
one.
and
Hmm.
Russell Crowe. So, yeah,
Good crew.
I've seen a few. Yeah, I've seen a few westerns.
All right, so let's talk about this episode a little bit more because like I feel like Brent Spiner just keeps showing off in the best way. Like when he flipped from saying, well, he said, I reckon the blah blah, and he just switched right. It wasn't from sentence to sentence. It was in between words. He took a breath. He said, I reckon the process will be, or whatever it was. Like it was just like so. I was like, you son of a. Now at this point, you're just showing off. You're just telling everybody, look what I can do. But also, it's just such a great juicy steak that the writers feed him every once in a while, right? Sometimes he's just playing data and it's up to Brent Spiner to do something that impresses us. But sometimes the writers give him some really good stuff to where he can show off, and this was one of those. So I really appreciated him yet again and his super talents.
Yeah, I was thinking about you when he did that whole switch, and I was like, I know Ryan's seeing this. This guy is on another level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Spiner is just it's just fantastic, and he takes every opportunity to make the most of whatever his dialogue is, no matter
Yeah.
what it is, what scene he's in. He could be giving techno babble with Geordi. He could be just answering the captain's orders. But whatever it is, he puts his all into that moment, and he tries to eat up the scenery and and the moment as best he can. And so I don't think he ever I haven't seen him give any half-ass performances or
Mm-mm.
like phone anything in. He's always trying to do the best data that he can do, and it's fantastic to watch.
Right. And you know what else? Man, when he played the big bad, the dad, I think it was like Frank or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, Frank.
That was actually, I was like, whoa, I have never seen Brent Spiner play this kind of role. We've seen him
A
play
villain.
funny or goofy. I didn't remember this. I was really shocked at how good he was at being confident, intimidating, sure of himself. Like, I was like, dude, bro is Doc Holliday right now, but without the drinking. Like that was A plus. That was better than I think the flipping back and forth between the accents because this was like a complete shift in anything we've ever seen Brent Spiner do. And I was watching him like a hawk, and I couldn't believe how different and great that performance was from everything else he's ever done. Because everything else he does has a hint of vulnerability in a way. You know what I mean? Like Data, it's like, oh, Data's kind of cute. Even Lore is a pitiable character. The son, Eli, is evil and terrible, but he's kind of like, pitiable at least. Like you're not too scared of him. But the dad was very intimidating and very good. I mean, just huge A plus to Brent Spiner for that character.
Yeah, and in the example that you gave, in which all four characters are Data, and they all look like Data, so there's no like real crazy transformation visually or makeup aesthetics that can enhance his performance. So he's doing Data, looking like Data, and he gives you Lore, which is a variation that is completely different than any other variation of Data's alter egos, right? Lore has a different tone, different delivery method, um, you know, pentameter to his voice.
Hmm.
It's all slightly different, right, than Data. And then even in this episode, when he's playing both the father and the son, there's a moment there when the father goes to see the son in the jail, and he says to him, how's my boy doing? And the son's like, oh, Paul, and he's completely doing two different. You can see the difference in between the temperament of the father and the son.
Totally. And the way they hold
There,
themselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
like body language, everything. There was a complete distinction between the two of them. There wasn't like, oh, you could tell Data's just using the same voice and the same person for both characters. No, he has a Eli character that carries his body in a little bit different way and is a little bit more,
He slinks.
scrawny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then the father who comes in there like this elder statesman who's not afraid of anybody, shoulders back, and
Hmm.
and so even in the performance, the body language is different. The accents are slightly tweaked, and he's doing it right in front of our face with while playing a robot. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's it's
So
it's it, it's just amazing.
I did laugh a lot in this episode too.
Yeah,
Obviously, when Eli said, "Was you born that way, or did your mother marry an armadillo?" That's funny.
yeah,
And then when
yeah.
Worf knocks him out, he says, "I'm beginning to see the appeal of this program." That killed me. He's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I like this. This is good
Yeah,
stuff. I get to beat
yeah,
people up. All right, it's like one of my programs." So that
Yeah,
that was great. It was also funny when he said, you know, Counselor Troy, and she says, "It's Durango." And he's like,
yeah,
"Counselor Durango."
yeah. Counselor.
It's all good stuff, man.
Yeah. Even when Jordy and Data were just doing their little, you know, uh, science work of trying to integrate the system to Data, there was a moment where Data says, "Jordy, are you attempting to grow a beard?"
Yeah,
And it just made me laugh the way he said it because it's like the word attempting was
attempting,
like,
right?
it's
Like,
like,
excuse me, bro. What do you got? Uh, but there was something interesting that I noticed that Data said. He was talking about subroutine C47.
yeah,
And Sirach, you're nodding your head because what
yeah,
it
there it is.
there it is.
C47.
I had to pause it. I was like, did I just hear C47? Is that the writers just being cute again? Because anybody that's been on a set, especially on the production side, they know that for some weird reason, actually, I think I know the reason, production people call clothespins C47s. It's not faster. It's five syllables rather than two syllables. It doesn't make
Really?
any sense. So why are they calling clothespins C47s? I mean, the lore is, pardon me, Data, the lore is that because on some set there was just a big box of clothespins and like the SKU number on it said like C47. So people just started calling it that set started calling them C4. But I remember the first time I was on set, people were like, "Hey, can
Really?
you get some C47s?" I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And they're like, "Clothespins." I was like, "If you want clothespins, why don't you just say clothespins? It's faster and everybody." Anyway, it's just a weird thing. So I thought it was cute that they mentioned, subroutine C47. I'm like, that is not a mistake, especially
Wow.
considering that 47 is the magic Star Trek number. But that was just a fun little catch there.
Deep cut. I didn't know about the clothespin C47 moment.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering. I was like, I wonder if actors know that or if that's just like specifically a production thing. Because production
Yeah.
people, especially like, grips, people that, are dealing with like lighting or electronic or gels, they use the C47s on the gels for the lighting and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was thinking of myself because I'm C47.
Ah,
I'm
very
40.
nice. That's way
I just
better.
turned 47.
That's way better.
I
So
was
like
like,
like
hey,
I'm R24.
yeah, let's plus what?
No, I'm not good at math. Let's move on. Let's not double anything. I'll tell you that much. Uh, what was another fun moment? So also, you know, you were talking about the scoring, right?
Yes.
Which was amazing. But not just that, also the Foley artists, also like, the sound effects. It was so fun when they're gonna have their showdown and you hear the obligatory dog barking in the background. I'm like, every single one of these
Yeah.
ever, when they
Yeah.
stand, the two of them 20 paces apart, and you hear the dog barking, woof, woof, in the background. And then, like the breeze and it was just like everything was so and
Absolutely.
oh, the other thing that was like it was like the obligatory dog barking and the obligatory flip to the open to the close sign and pull the shades down, right? The pull the
Yeah,
shade. I'm like, this
exactly.
is so Western, man. It was so good.
Yeah, and Patrick did a fantastic job, I thought, of shooting this one
Yeah.
because I did get the full Western feel. I didn't feel cheated on any shots. I felt like they really, gave me a full Western episode, and some of the interior shots of the bar were really good. They had a one where the lighting was coming through the windows, and I like the way it was kind of submerged with lighting. So shout out to the DP on that shot as well. But yeah, I thought this was just phenomenal job all the way around. Just I enjoyed everybody's performance, including like we got a Barkley Nam, which was great,
Yes.
but I like Dr. Crusher's performance, when she was asking Picard to join the play, and I mean there was just everybody had their moments. Alexander, I thought was very good in this episode. You know, that's all I really kind of I like him when he's not an annoying kid, when he's just being, you know, a regular kid. And I thought he pulled that off as well in this episode. So, um, you know, like I was telling Robert, when I see in Alexander's in an episode, I usually kind of deflate a little bit, like, oh, this is not going to be that good.
No,
But
you
this,
told me that when Alexander shows up, you go, Ryan.
yeah,
Because I'm
well,
like,
you
there's only
know,
like one or two episodes that are
yeah,
Alexander, and there's meanwhile
yeah,
there's like 30.
yeah. No, this was a much better one, and I thought this
Fun.
made Worf look better as a father. It was just like an all around good Star Trek episode. This was all
Hmm.
around good.
I agree. It was overall fun. Data got to show off, his skills. Troy was great. I actually really liked her a lot. And also, it's important to give these characters something else because we all know, you know, it's uh, it's going to be an argued opinion, but I think most of us feel that generally speaking, they kind of failed Troy. As
Yeah,
in, they didn't do her justice. They set up a great character in episode one where we're like, wow, I can really see where her character is important, where it goes. This is the first episode. I get it. I know where she fits. I know how the stories will work. And then they added Guinan, who is a secondary listener, not that big of a deal. Then they started giving psychic intuitions to Beverly Crusher, like in Cause and Effect. Or when there's somebody that needs to be leaded around, that's Beverly Crusher or someone else. And then suddenly you're just like, well, what the heck does she do? And then when she would get something, it would be her saying, oh, my powers don't work with fill in the blank, or oh, they're too far away. They're out of my brain range. Or
hmm
there was always some. And then at this point, you're like, boy, you like created a Superman where everything on the planet is kryptonite, basically, right? And in this episode, it was great because none of that mattered. She wasn't Counselor Troy. She was just Deanna Troy on a mission with her friend Worf and his kid Alexander. And so she could just be herself and not herself in the role that she's put in on the ship, but just herself in a new role. And that was gave her an opportunity to just be a person, to just do her thing. And she was a great addition. She looked great. She seemed like she felt great. Like seemed like she was comfortable and happy and really kind of feeling the moment. And I just thought it was a
yeah,
good gift to somebody that wasn't getting a lot of gifts in the first five seasons.
yeah. Well, first of all, she looked super hot in this western, so I
Oh, I
could
didn't
definitely
notice.
see. Yeah, and then also, you know, I think she may even have some frustrations with how her character is
Hmm.
written, and it feels too reserved in some manners. To you know, it's just like she almost plays it like, or the way they write it, it's just very not much. They don't give her much, and it's very small, and it's also reserved. So she's always mindful of her actions and listening and trying to, you know, and it doesn't allow her to be let loose and see her playful side. We always see her kind of work side. It's like
Hmm.
she's always a counselor, even when she's at 10 forward, for example. You know, it's so she's never really getting a chance to just let loose and play and be playful. Um, and the most playful episodes she gets are when her mom's in town and it's Luoxana doing all the playing and her doing all the cleanup.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not her being able to be herself, and we get to see her what she likes and what she would consider an adventure. Um, so I did love her performance in this. I thought she got to be a little bit looser, a little bit more playful. You know what, the one of my favorite, you mentioned laughing. One line that made me laugh probably the most was when Picard says, Dr. Crusher says, well, please, I'd like you to be in the play, and he's like, well, anyways,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
much of an actor.
And she
Yeah,
says
he's
it's
like,
just 2 lines. You'll be
yeah.
great.
And then he gets offended, like 2 lines, like you
Yeah.
can see that he's like, I'm an actor. Why would I only get 2 lines? So it's funny, but that whole I'm not much of an actor, like that's definitely a funny line. The irony in that.
Yeah, it was great. However, we are already time up against it to do the home run of the episode, everybody. Today's home run of the episode, A Fistful of Datas. What say you, Sirach Lofton?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that it's really impossible for me not to give it to Brent Spiner because
Yeah.
he does all the work. he he plays all the characters, and he's just so fantastic. So I mean, it's Brent Spiner. It's Data. He's just too good on the show.
Hmm.
It's almost like I keep calling his name out, and I feel bad that I'm not giving it to other people, especially when they have great episodes like Marina Sirtis did, like Michael Dorn did. It's just he's so good, and they always give him the meat of the
Yeah.
plate, so he gets the big part of the entree. So, and he chews it up and does a great job. So I would say Brent Spiner gets the home run with an honorary mention for Robert Hewitt Wolfe for writing this episode and coming up with this idea.
Absolutely. I'm going to echo your sentiments there on both counts. And I will see those and I will raise you the entire sound department because there were
Mm,
so much things in there added in the edit, the
yes.
Foley, the scoring, the sound overall, which is tough in exterior shoots. Uh, I didn't notice any obvious ADR. ADR always happens, and sometimes you're just like, oh God, that's so obvious. So
Yeah.
all around, sound department nailed it.
Yeah.
Great job was done by all. Speaking of great jobs, these guys are all great at their jobs, presumably. Their names are Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Moeller, Dr. Mohammed Noor Anil O. Palat, Joe
Polite.
Balsarati, Mike Goo, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde,
Lita.
Julie Manosfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom, Cassandra G., Chuck A., Chris Garris, and of course, Jason M. Oken. We will be right back with the free for all. See you in a minute on the seventh rule, more like a second. Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the seventh rule with Sirach Lofton. This is the free for all with Melissa Longo wearing a shirt of the director for today's episode and a cool background. Wow, that is a
Yeah.
fun one. Allison Leach Hyde's wearing a Western type shirt. That looks cool. Chris Garris is here. He's in Deadwood, looks like.
Yeah.
Carrie Schwent also looks like, aka Crafty Bear, also looks like she's in Deadwood, it looks like.
Nope.
Where is it? Oh, no, don't tell us.
I'm in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Oh.
Mm.
I don't get it. But we'll find out, I'm sure, soon enough. TJ Jackson Bay is out in Missouri. He's also played by Brent Spiner. Chuck A
Howdy.
has his prune juice and chill shirt in honor of Worf.
Right.
And Chris McGee is my shirt matching buddy. We're both wearing our, Deep Space Nine family shirts with Sirach right in the middle in yellow.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
All right. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Hey, who are you calling Yella? There it's appropriate.
I reckon.
Yeah, I got this right around a 9. I'm just below, so I'd probably give it like an 8.8.
Does anybody else have any guesses that doesn't already know what the score is on IMDb?
I'm gonna give it an 8.2.
8.5.
5.
Wow. Chris, you're supposed to be my twin. All right.
Wow.
All bets are in, everybody. Would you believe it if I told you 7.4?
What are people
Whoa.
Rude.
doing?
If you
What?
switch that around, it's 47.
C-47.
C-47, yeah. We got a non-appearance mention for Barkley, right? Did we have any others? What's the other one, Melissa? Peace.
Ian Troy. Because
Luoxana, Troy?
Deanna Troy said that she enjoyed Westerns with her father.
Oh, Ian Troy. Right? Cool.
Isn't that his name? Yeah.
I think so.
Ian
Yeah.
Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good one.
Isn't that what she named her ball of light baby?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Chris McGee, did we have any some kinds of or some sorts of?
For the first time in a while, no.
What?
Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Melissa, please get us started off on the right track by letting us know what you thought of this particular episode with that cool background.
I love this background. I thought it was a pretty fun episode. I have to say that it's probably my favorite Alexander Worf episode so far.
Aw.
Alexander Worf episode so far. I thought it was pretty funny. I laughed out loud for several lines in this episode, particularly the one by Eli where he says, "Were you born that ugly, or did your mama marry an armadillo?" It's so funny. And then when Counselor Troy says, "It's Durango," and then Worf says, "Counselor Durango." And then when he says, there's a lot of fun lines in this one. And then when he says, Worf says, "I'm beginning to see why you like this program."
So good.
Yeah.
So good. I enjoyed it. Because I think it was a growth moment for both Alexander and Worf, and especially Worf and his parenting, even though he was forced into it. But then he was like, "Oh, but this is actually kind of fun. So let's do more of this." And I also like that Counselor Troy is kind of Worf's co-parent. And I like that there's no romance involved in that co-parenting. It just highlights that there's so many different kinds of families in this world. They look so different, come in all shapes and sizes, and I really enjoy that. Because I think that she adds a dynamic to Alexander and Worf's relationship that is very much needed.
That's a great point. Great group. Thank you very much, Melissa at Flongo. All right, Allison Leach Hyde with the cool shirt. What have you got for us? What do you think of this one?
It's a fun episode. It's a holodeck gone wrong. We are on location in a Western set, which is always fun when we get to see our characters play somewhere that they're not usually. And, they get to be in costume and, it's a lot of fun. And, little Alexander in his little Western outfit that matches his dad is probably the cutest thing that we have seen in a very long time on the Next Generation. So I love that. I also really enjoy getting to see Data and Geordi's relationship also in this one, with, we're going to try him being the backup computer. And like they've been talking about this and they know they're going to be doing nothing. So let's give it a try. And of course it goes wrong. But I thought it was a great way to like just show that they hang out and talk about stuff like all the time and have crazy engineering ideas together. So I enjoy that. Also love the bit about, hey, are you growing a beard? I thought that was cute. A bit of it'll be better later once it like fills in. And I think my second favorite scene has to be the opening scene of everyone coming to the captain because like, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? We're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Can I do He just wants to play his flute and he is so annoyed. So I thought Stu did a great job of directing that and acting in it. And so that's gotta be weird to direct yourself. It's your scene. So I thought he did a great job. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. My one nitpick is that, Counselor Troy's outfit is way too tight to do anything comfortable in a Western situation. Like you can't ride a horse in those pants. I'm sorry. That's not gonna happen. But that was just more power for the course of the 90s and her costumes all the time until very soon when she gets to be, in her regular uniform. But that's my only nitpick. I love this episode. I will watch it every time, no skipping.
Hmm. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Allison Leach Hyde Strock. We didn't even talk about that opening scene, which was hysterical. That was so good.
So funny.
But I'm sure we will.
Or we didn't talk about riding a horse in those pants.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I don't think that they even considered if that she would ride a horse. I don't think that's what they're thinking about. Carrie Schwent, aka Crafty Bear, what's up? What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, just like Rascals last time, this episode is just delightful from beginning to end. Poor Picard getting more and more frustrated every single time his door chimes. You can see his level of frustration just absolutely rising. I love anything, but I've never really watched really a lot of the like older Westerns, but I do enjoy that Western genre. Case in point, the image behind me, Dr. Mike's Clinic from Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, Colorado Springs. You got that in that same sort of time period. One of the background extras, actually, when I was looking everybody up as I do, there was a guy named shoot, I wrote down. Where is it? Yeah, he was one of the saloon gamblers, and in the saloon, just in the background guy. He was in the first 8 episodes of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, including the pilot, which features our own Cole Meany. He was Jake the Barber before the rest of the series got going, and several of the initial roles from the pilot were recast, including Cole Meany's, which was for the best because he had Deep Space Nine and Star Trek to go do. So I'm okay with it. Even though he is kind of adorable in it, but of course I can't miss an opportunity to shout out Dr. Quinn. Yeah, Worf and Alexander, way too cute. I also love how adorable he looks Alexander looks in his little outfit with his little hat. I love every single piece of Deanna's outfit, from the hat down her boots. All of that looked fantastic. The coat looked great. I love a good coat. Sorry, brain's a bit fuzzy this time around, so I didn't do it as much of my usual notes as I usually do. But one thing came up when they were talking about all the other things going on around the ship, and Data working in the casual. I reckon it'll take, so many laugh out loud lines. But when they were mentioned that the replicators were on several of the decks were producing nothing but cat food. How many people, when they got cat food out of the replicator, how many people do we think actually maybe tried the cat food after they said, "Oh, what the heck is this?"
I mean, Worf.
It had to have been at least one. Well, Worf was busy on the holodeck, so he
Barkley.
couldn't try it. But
Barkley is what I thought too.
Mm-hmm. But those of us who have cats know that struggle of picking the right food that your cat is actually going to eat when you want them to eat it, not when they want to eat it. And of course, the jumping up on the desk when poor Data's trying to work, setting the cat back down. Vamoose, ya varmint.
I mean, just delightful. And yeah, Brent Spiner was absolutely fantastic. You could tell how much fun he was having in every single one of those, every single one of the roles that he pops up in. But I think my favorite is how the voice he does as the Eli, the one in the cell with that particular voice, how he does it. And so that sort of inspired the limerick, and I'm going to do my best to attempt Data a la Eli's voice from that when I read the following to you guys. Here we go. Sitting here cooling my heels in this cell. Let me out or I'm gonna raise hell. Just wait till my pa gets here. You'll learn the meaning of fear. Now keep your word and all will be well.
Nice. Thank you very much. Carrie Schwent, aka Crafty Bear. Oh, did you tell us why Colorado Springs in your background? Because I don't know.
That's where Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, is set, is in Colorado Springs.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much, Carrie Schwent. All right, Chris Garris is here. He's hanging out with Worf and Alexander. What do you think of this one?
So this is actually one of the good Worf and Alexander episodes that you don't want to skip. Um, but well, first off, I'd like to know, was everybody lined up outside Picard's door? Because it was like one right after the other. Like, oh, where are you going? I'm going to see the captain. Where are you going? Oh my God. And then of course, by he gets to Worf, he's just like, what? Um, but I did like, again, of course, they still have to keep the trope of Worf not really wanting to be a parent, because he is trying to do everything he can to not to take the time off. He's like, let me do this, Mr. Worf. You have the time. Just take off. And you see it when he walks back into his quarters, his face. He's like, he said we can do it. And he's just so I hate to say it, he's just upset about it. But then when they do finally get into the holodeck program, he actually gets happy because he's like, oh, we're law officers. We're officers of the law. And then they start getting into when they arrest Eli, he wants to know, is there a trial and execution? Like he went straight to like almost execution. He's ready to just get rid of him. Um, one thing I would love to ask Brent Spiner was like, what was it like to play all those different roles in one episode? Because, I mean, he had to have fun, but man, that's also a lot of work, I would say. I mean, not being an actor, but you got to try to prepare for all those and give a little nuance to every one of them and not make them just all the same. Um, and I loved also at the beginning when they're getting into the program and they're walking around and Worf looks up and sees I don't know, I'm just gonna say the lady of the night up on the balcony, and he looks at Alexander. You wrote this program? Well, Mr. Barkley helped. I just got it. He's like, oh, Barkley's gonna get a talking to when this is all over. Um, and so overall, as everybody else kind of said, this is one of those few Worf Alexander episodes that is not, you just doesn't have those cringe moments, except the very beginning. But then I like how at the end, honestly, he's like, hey, he's actually willing to go and do it again, which that says a whole lot for Worf. Like, I think, I'm not sure it was Melissa or Allison made a comment. He actually had growth in this episode. So, that's a plus. And the last thing I'm going to say is um, Strange New Worlds is correct. The holodecks are still broken and dangerous because even 100 years later, the damn safeties still don't work. And it just takes one little bug to throw the whole damn thing off. So again, this was actually a decent episode. So I will definitely, this is not a skipper.
Right. Thank you very much, Chris Garris, hanging out in Deadwood. Oh, that's right. The skipper was the director this time. All right. Thank you, TJ Jackson Bay, also played by Brent Spiner. What'd you think of this one?
Oh man, I enjoyed this episode a lot. I think it takes Star Trek back to its roots because it was originally, put forth as the wagon train to the stars, and it was supposed to be like a Western in space. And so they go to the West. And unfortunately, I think as the years go by, people will forget that and be like, why is this here? But I enjoy it. I also enjoyed watching Worf's journey from the beginning to the end and seeing his character grow a little. I wonder if it'll hold. Um, but I also think it was really pretty cowardly of him to try to get out of going to the holodeck by trying to work instead of just either telling his son, no, I don't want to do that, or just doing it. I mean, just give it a chance or something. But to try to slink out of it by trying to trick Picard into making him work and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Captain wants this done." That's kind of a coward move for a Klingon. So come on, Worf, do better. Um, one of the funny things to me was when when the bar lady was coming on to Worf, and it's like, what is it? Is that floozy from Miss Langston's house? Thought that was pretty funny. I also thought it was funny that in one of the scenes outside of the holodeck with Crusher and Riker and them trying to do the play, one Riker's delivery of the poem was just
Yeah.
hilarious because like he doesn't break. He's like, these are the lines. I'm gonna give it my best. It's also fun watching actors act like they're actors. So that was pretty interesting as well. And it was interesting that he remembered the poem since in the recitation he was asleep. He was too asleep to remember. But somehow he does. So I thought that was interesting. Um, I also appreciated the Data Geordie moments. Allison mentioned that. I think back, from a few episodes ago when, the fact that they kind of, sit around and just come up with engineering stuff is what saved the ship. In this case, it's what got the ship in trouble, but
Mhm.
it's all right too. I thought it was funny that Worf was frustrated with Counselor Troy because he expects her, because they're all playing the same game, to just be on his side all the time. But no, she's fully into the character, and she's like, I don't have to go along with everything that you say. We're in here to have fun. So, but he's like, you need to support me on this. And she's like, no. So that was pretty funny. Lastly, again, I think Brent Spiner was wonderful in this episode, in playing all the different roles, and as someone mentioned, giving them all a little bit of nuance. Really stretching his legs. He's a great actor. He's that funny in person. If you get to interact with him, I encourage you to do so. And also the last funny scene for me was one of the last scenes in the episode with Worf in the mirror, playing a finger gun, like yeah, like so
Yes.
that's the end of the journey for me because he goes from being this kind of coward Klingon trying to slink out of it and work and be old boring, Worf, to like this was like he's legit having fun. And that's something that we don't often see Worf get to do. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was adorable. And I was so glad to see him at the end doing that final. Yeah. Fixing his hat. Great stuff. Thank you very much, TJ Jackson Bay, also played by Brent Spiner. Chuck A, aka TNG Fanatic. What do you think of this one? Did you love it?
Yeah, I really, really like this episode. And I'm so glad that the free-for-all safeguards are functioning. Otherwise, we'd have an issue. I really like Chris Garris's background, so I jumped off and got my Sheriff
Oh,
Worf and
that's so
Alexander.
cute.
They were sold in a 2-pack, similar to the Rom and Nog two-pack.
So
It's a mini. Alexander's a mini figure. Um,
He's
Couple
the choking
things.
hazard.
I was
That's
just
right.
thinking that.
Um, the other thing, I believe that the voice that Brett was using, for the Hollander, Eli Hollander, was the same voice that he used in Night Court for Bob Wheeler. I'm
Oh.
pretty sure it's the same. Brent said in interviews that he used to be, him and his friend used to do like mini plays, and that's where he developed that voice. So he used it in Night Court, and I'm glad to see it. He used it in this episode. Um, I really like the Brent playing all the characters, and I love Worf's expression at the end when Brent comes down as Miss Annie, and he's trying to get the program to end. He wasn't happy seeing that. Excuse me. And uh, um, one other thing that I enjoyed too was all the little on the ship when Data was malfunctioning and was doing the Western voice, with spitting into his spittoon, pretending to spit into his spittoon. That was hilarious, and uh, you know, all the lead ups to the holodeck where you could see that Data was changing because of the error in the program. Just a wonderful episode. I really think it was one of if not the best holodeck episode that they made.
Wow, high praise. Thank you
Big
very
time.
much, Chuck A, aka TNG fanatic. All right, Chris McGee, also played by Brent Spiner. All right, Dark Lord, what do you think of this one?
Oh, this is such a fun episode in the fine tradition of holodeck breaks and becomes dangerous tropes. It's episodes like this one that inspired the recent Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode, A Space Adventure Hour, in which Lon deemed holodecks too risky. Well, as often as this trope comes up, I'd say not much has changed since then. And combining that trope with so many spaghetti Western tropes is also delightful, including the mysterious stranger, the shootout in the saloon, heck, the title itself being an homage to one of the most well known spaghetti Westerns, A Fistful of Dollars. And even the final shot of the episode is the Enterprise riding off into the sunset. Uh, every time I watch this episode, of course, which takes place in the town of Deadwood, I'm reminded that I still need to watch the TV show of the same name, as it stars one of my favorite actors, Ian McShane. And I also like how everyone calls the setting for this holodeck adventure the Ancient West. We usually call it the Old West now, but it makes perfect sense that the descriptor would have changed over time to ancient by the 24th century. Um, a couple of little actor moments here. Of course, we get another great callback, as was mentioned earlier, this time to Schisms and Data's Ode to Spot. Riker's expression when he recognizes the lines he's about to read is fantastic. And then in that opening scene where we hear Patrick Stewart say, whenever he says this, I am not much of an actor, it always makes me absolutely laugh. And when he learns that his part would be a minor one, his look of barely disguised disappointment is perfect. I do have one prop shout out in this episode. I love the fact that the back of Alexander's gaming device was kit bashed together from some old 5 1/4 inch floppy disk drives. I hope I'm not the only one here old enough to remember those. Anyway, and so we get to, of course, my favorite memorable quote. There were so many in this episode, but I'm going to go with Data's line, which is, of course, you just sit tight. We'll have this all fixed up in time for supper.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Chris McGee. It also cracked me up right after that. Riker went, good. uh, Jake's final take. Sirach, any final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, a couple. I want to say that I like the guest actors in this episode. The kid who played Eli Hollander, I thought was pretty good, and also the woman who was the barkeeper, whoever running that little house there. She was also really good, and I thought she could have also been played by Luoxana Troy. I thought Luoxana Troy would have also been great in that role. It could have been Barkley who programmed her to look like that, and she could have not been Troy's mom. But that would have definitely irritated Troy more. So that would have had a whole nother ramifications. Um, Also, I noticed that they always run a level 2 diagnostic, and I'm like, how many levels of diagnostics are there, and why is level 2 the one that you want to go with? Why not the 3 or the 1 or the 4? So that's just my own curiosity. Um, yes, I like the moment where Geordi and Data were talking to each other, and Geordi says, "You're not just another electronic system." And then Data kind of says, "Well, you're not just another biological mass or something like that." And I thought that was just a great moment between the two of them. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, Worf says, "I do not negotiate with criminals," and that just reminded me of the United States policy to not negotiate with terrorists. And I'm pretty sure that it's borrowed from that to some degree.
Hmm.
Let's see, what else did I get here? Oh, holodeck Worf kicks ass more than real life Worf. Uh, what's up with that? Worf, use those same skills in the real life scenario. So, I mean, I don't get it. And then Riker, boy, Riker is not going to read any he's not memorizing technobabble. He's reading it all the time. This is now the second time that I can notice this season where he was given some difficult technobabble, and he's like, "I'm not going to try to memorize it. I'm only going to read it, and that's it." So he just reads it, and he's not even going to attempt to do what LeVar Burton and Brent Spiner do on a regular basis. So that's how good it is to do that, just for the record. And let's see. I think my last point was, oh yeah, computer and program. That it either works or it doesn't. It either works or it doesn't. We need a fail safe switch for that one. It can't just be computer and program because it's got to be like some override code or
Yeah.
something just in case. Yeah, something like one of those break glasses in case of emergency switches or something.
Right.
But so yeah, we've seen computer and program not always work for us. So that's another final take right there.
Great stuff. Thank you, Sirach. Thank you, everybody at home. And we're going to do the Things Left Unsaid segment right after this for everybody that's a Patreon member. Otherwise, go to patreon.com/the seventh rule. Join in the fun. Thanks very much, Chris McGee, Chuck A., TJ Jackson Bay, Chris Garris, Carrie Schwent, Allison Leachhide, Melissa Longo, for myself, Sirach, Melissa, and oh, that was a weird face, Melissa. Uh, and Mr. Aaron Eisenberg, thank you all very much for hanging out with us. We will see you next time. And until then, always remember the seventh rule, partner.